Shalom Chaverim and Bruchim Abayim from Avat Ami Ministries and Yeshivat Shivu to a special edition of our program, When Jews Meet Yeshua. Today we are here recording in an outdoor setting among all the Igbo people around me. So let's give the Lord a hand for the Igbo people. It is going to be a very special and very fascinating program where we are going to be discussing the past and maybe a little bit of the present even of the Igbo people. We all know that Israel, northern tribes have been scattered all throughout the nations. Some has defected, as I explained in the past, to the Judah kingdom, but some have been scattered. Today I have with me in my program two men from the Igbo people who are having a strong claim that they are part of the children of Israel by lineage. I have with me today David. David, shalom.
Shalom.
How are you doing?
It's my pleasure seeing you.
Thank you for being with us. And I have with me Abraham. Shalom, Abraham.
Shalom, Kavrim. It's nice meeting all of you.
It is great to have you with us. Over these last few days, I've been fascinated to go to a place. It's like the Igbo God, the Palace of God, seeing some of the ancient Igbo writings, hearing the story of the three trees, to hear about some of the customs and the traditions of the Igbo people. Let me start by asking you a question. Do you know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that the Igbo people are part of the tribes of Israel? Do you know this beyond a shadow of a doubt? Let me start with David and then we'll go to Abraham. David, do you know that beyond a shadow of a doubt?
Yes, I know beyond every reasonable doubt that the Igbo race are part of the lost 10 tribe of Israel. This came to fore around 1861 when an Anglican missionary, Dr. G.T. Basden, came down here. Now he found when the Igbos were still naked. So he found the 8-day circumcision of the Igbo man, and he know down here when an Igbo man die by hanging, by suicide, he is no longer buried like every other person that die naturally. So Dr. G.T. Basden, after conducting his research, came forward with a book which he entitled Among the Igbo Jews. Among the Igbo Jews. So in that book, he made it categorically clear that whoever wants to associate with the Igbo must first of all acquaint himself with the Mosaic law. So he wrote this book and took it, according to Professor Nkwalezi, to the King of England, the King George V.
Interesting.
And told him that he has made one of the greatest discoveries of the century, discovering a branch of the Hebrew community in Nigeria. So now the king discouraged him from publishing the book, so that the Igbos will not know that they are part of the lost 10 tribe of Israel. That if they happen to know, that they will no longer accept Christianity, which they came to propagate. So Dr. G.T. Basden could not publish his book until 1934.
That's 70 years. 70 years.
Yes, from 1861 to 1934. In that book, you will see 5 naked Igbo virgins.
Wow.
So then they knew. How did they get to know? An Igbo man from Ihiala here, a community called the Seke, Olaude Ekwuano, he was stolen and sold into slavery.
Wow.
And he was taken to West Indies, where a British soldier bought him and took him to England and gave him to his aunt who trained him. So then Olaude Ekwuano was serving the woman conscientiously. So somewhere along the line, the old woman developed interest in Olaude Ekwuano and told him that if he's able to reimburse her or part of the money spent in buying him, that she will set him free. So the woman was allowing Olaude Ekwuano to go out and do some odd jobs and make some money, and he was reimbursing the woman. Before the woman knew what was happening, Olaude Ekwuano was able to reimburse her. So she set him free. Oladekwanu was the first Igbo man to go to school. He studied in England.
Amazing, amazing. Let
That
me
was in 1897.
18. Okay, so
1798.
let me ask. Let me. This is fascinating. Let me ask you a question, Abraham. The origin of the word Igbo. It's or such a resemblance to the word Hebrew. What do we know if we're going back, way back? What can we know about the Igbo tradition? Is it truly related to the word Hebrew?
Yeah, thank you so
Before we're talking about your tradition, I mean, just the similarity in the word Hebrew is already kind of strange.
All right. Thank you so much. You see, here in this interview, I will also want to do some dissecting as far as it concerns the Igbo language and the Hebrew language.
There are
Because
similarities.
yes, so much similarities.
Interesting.
And you see, my own brother here, Nacho, maybe we'll be talking on the intellectual aspect, while I talk on the aspect that has to do with our connection as Israelites, as is contained in the Holy Book of Bible, and also as it concerns our language. Now, coming to the word Igbo, before people are known as the Igbos, and after some time, it changed to Igbo.
Okay.
It changed to Igbo because the GBO came in instead of the IBO.
Okay.
And now the IBO has a close resemblance, like a bastardized form of Eba,
Okay.
from where we get the word Hebrew.
Okay.
So, just the same way that in our language we say Bia. Bia means come, but it also means enter. Come and enter.
Enter.
Yes, and when you come to Hebrew, you will also see that Bia means entrance.
Wow, interesting.
Now, so we have a lot of things like the rice, what we call rice in Hebrew,
Yeah.
and what we call rice in Igbo land here in some part of the ethnic groups.
Yeah.
Because you see, when you come to Igbo land, we have different, I put it this way, we have different accents. People who speak the same Igbo language, but with the different, what do you call it,
Accent,
dialect.
dialect.
I don't use the word dialect. Now, just like when you come to Israel, you know of the people who say Sibolet, and the others say Shibolet.
Wow.
We have these differences.
Hold on a second, just continue.
We have the differences also in the Igbo language. We have people who, what do you call it, use Igbo dialect.
Okay, okay. So the different dialects. Any of the dialects, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Any of the dialects in the Igbo language, are there any words in the Igbo language that you're aware that come from Hebrew?
Of course, so many of them. I have a lot of them here.
Can you give one or two examples?
One of the examples that I have here is that in one of the dialects, the people call the Intezi people. The Intezi people is a part of the Igbo tribe that says Bo. Bo.
Bo.
Bo. It means the same
Come.
thing.
Come.
Bo. Boyo. They say Boyo. Come here.
Wow.
So the same word, the same
How
Bo.
do they say it? They say it again.
They say Boyo. Boyo.
In Hebrew, you say bohena.
Bohena.
It sounds almost exactly the same. Boya, bohena.
Bohena. Yeah. So they say it sounds the same thing. And when we come to the word rice in Igbo, there is a tribe in Igbo called the Abakaliki people. What they call rice is a race.
Wow.
Race. Why the Hebrew call it Ores.
Wow, it's come from the Hebrew.
What do you call it? When you come to the Igbo land, we have what do you call the name Adam? The Adam, what do we know is this? We call Adama. Adama.
Soil.
We have Adama when you go to the tribe called the Arondizog. Adama also means earth. Adama means also earth. Then we have a name given to an Igbo first daughter. We call him Adama.
Oh.
Adama sounds also like the Adam that we have. So many things to show the similarity between the Israelites and us. In short, it is not just a mere speculation. These things are, I have over 100 of them in this website.
100 of the, I want to touch on a few because I looked at things.
All right.
But this is fascinating. David, let me turn to you. You're the author of this book,
Yes, he is.
Hebrew Jews
And the
the kingdom of God. Recap for me in a few sentences. What is this book about? What have you discovered? Please tell us.
It's my pleasure. Now, I wrote this book to enlighten the Igbo man that by reason of their circumcision and by reason of the covenant which the nation of Israel has with the God of heaven, that they cannot enter the kingdom except they return back to that covenant, which is Sabbath observance, observing the feast of Passover, the feast of Tabernacle, and the feast of Pentecost. So, except the Igbo man comes back and observe all these festivals, that he can never inherit the kingdom of God. That is what the book is all about.
Your call is to the Igbo people to
return back to the broken covenant of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. We have, and that is why today the Igbo man is an object of ridicule, because today we are ruled in this country by the uncircumcised Philistines. We have been so intimidated and humiliated and ridiculed by these uncircumcised Philistines. Now, simply because the creator of the world made a covenant in the book of Leviticus chapter 26, verse 6 and 7, he said that if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, he said, you shall be the head and not the tail.
Amen.
And if your enemy shall rise against you,
continue.
That 5 of you will defeat 100, and 100 of you will defeat 10,000. If you know, that is on the condition of obedience. But if you not obey, he said that I will set my face against you. You shall be slain by your enemies, and those who hate you shall reign over you. So with all this, I decided to package this book. In fact, I've written over 5 like this. But due to lack of fund, you Israelites, you don't support the gospel. You don't give us money here. We have no money to publish them. And these things are going to be a legacy for the generation unborn. Because we want to enlighten our people. So you are coming, it's timely.
So let me make sure I understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
You are saying that the Igbo people have lost their identity
Contact with their God, with their maker, with their origin.
Okay. How do we know? We were this week, Abraham, we were in the place called Ibugad,
Mm-hmm.
the place, the palace of God.
Yes.
We saw some things there. How do we know? If you are to tell me succinctly, how do we know? Do you believe that you are ancestors from the tribe of God?
Of course.
Of course, we believe that we are ancestors of the tribe of Rabbi. Let me make it more clearer. Just like you rightly said before, that even after the dispersion of the children of Israel, that the 10 tribes, that there were other tribes that deflated to Judah.
That's right.
And that is to say,
a portion
is a mixture of other tribes.
That's right.
Good. Now, when you come to this very part of the world where the Igbos exist, yes, we are called the tribe of God, because the first person to enter here among all the tribes is God himself. But we have other tribes scattered all over the place. We have the tribe of Judah, we have so many tribes
tribe of
like
Dan,
that, and Levi in this very place.
Right.
Now, but all put together, like we have already said most of the time, that inside every Jew is the 12 tribe.
Absolutely.
So we are made up of all the tribe of Israel here in Nigeria.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But there's some uniqueness here that we cannot ignore with the tribe of God.
Yes,
there is some uniqueness.
Yes.
So everything that you know is passed orally.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Everything
that's how it is the oral tradition. Storytelling. That is the way our ancestors passed information to us in the olden days. Because you see, actually, when we came down to this very place, because we were surrounded by so many enemies, so our ancestors began to make code. In some of the knowledge that they have, they coded it in form of story, first stories. They put stories that are talking about the tortoise, talking about the bird, using animal to make representation in order to code it so that our neighbors will not be able to really understand who we are, but our own people understand, because it is like a code.
Can you give me an example of a code?
Yes.
Give me an example of a code like that.
Like a code
that say who they really are, but so that they will not able to understand.
Yes.
Give me
So
an
now,
example.
when you give the true story of the tortoise, the Igbo man is depicted like a tortoise.
Okay.
The tortoise is in Igbo land is known as a very wise and cunning animal. And because of this, they tell our children the stories of how the tortoise do this, how the tortoise do the other one, showing or trying to depict the fact that the Igbo race came from a very wise people.
Okay.
All right. Now, when we come down, in every garden that we do, because when we left, we still had in great quantity the customs, the traditions that were handed over to us way back from our fathers. So when we gather like this, our people will say, Igbo, bueno.
Yeah.
The response will be ya. And ya is the short form of Yodevahe. So this has already all the time been with their people. We didn't learn it from anybody.
Let's take a tradition.
All right.
Let's look at something like this: circumcision.
Right.
Were you circumcised in the 8th day?
All right, good. Yes, here in the whole part of Igbo land, there is no part of Igbo land where.
I'm just curious at the older men here. Were you all circumcised in the 8th day?
So there's no part of Igbo land where circumcision is not done on the 8th day. But you see, with the coming of the white man and the introduction of modernism, even they are beginning to use our doctors to force the people to be either circumcised before the 8th day or after it, with some flimsy excuses like that.
So this is just happening because
It's just happening now.
And
But before now, it is a must that when the male child is born in Igbo land, he must be
So
circumcised.
let's say I go 1 or 2 generations back, sir,
Yes.
to the generation of your grandfather.
Yeah.
It would not have been heard of to
Oh,
tie
it's
Igbo.
unheard of. It's a taboo. It's a taboo to give birth to a male child. Even before the 70s, you are talking of way back.
So
I'm
let-
talking before the 70s, before the war.
So you're talking about recent. So let me ask you a question.
Yes.
When you circumcise your child on the 8th day, do you actually name him?
Yes. It is the same day that the child is circumcised that we do the naming ceremony.
And that's the most Jewish thing.
Yes. And we do not only name our children just by mere naming, either we name them according to our ancestry lineage, or we name the child according to the circumstance behind the birth of that child.
Amazing.
Or the market day on which the
Yes.
child is born.
Amazing. That's absolutely amazing. So you do circumcision according to the house of Israel.
Yes.
On the 8th day.
On the 8th day.
Let's talk about other things that are amazing.
All right.
In a wedding ceremony, let's talk for a second in a wedding ceremony.
All right.
Do you have a canopy? Do you have something resembling a chuppah?
Yes, we have.
What else do you do in the ceremony? I read that you do something with the wine? You drink a cup of wine?
Thank you. In every Igbo tradition and ceremonies,
Yes.
wine is a very important part of the ceremony. You can't do any ceremony without wine.
Okay.
Just exactly the same way the Jew Israelite do. We do everything that we do here. The prayers are done with the wine.
And what is the thing about the money to give money in the wedding? What is that all about?
Thank you. The money that we give in wedding, one include the paying of the bride price.
You price the bride?
We pay the bride price. That is to say.
That's amazing,
Yes.
because in a Jewish ceremony,
Yes.
you pay the rabbi to
Yes.
purchase your bride.
Yes, that's exactly what
That's
we
a
do.
Jewish ceremony.
Yes, that's what we do.
In Judaism, you also do what's called a ketuvah. You do you have something similar to that?
Yes, in Igbo land we have a kind of ketubah, but it is an oral ketubah
Oral.
and not a written one.
Oral ketubah.
Actually, when a woman is married to a man, that woman remains the wife of that man until either the man decides to divorce the woman, either by reason of some certain misbehavior or whatever. If that man divorces the woman, for him to show that he has divorced the woman, he must give the woman a certificate of a divorce. And that
You have the concept of a certificate
yes,
of divorce.
and the certificate of divorce is that he will go back to the family of that woman and collect back the bride price.
Amazing.
Because all the ceremonies that are done in marriage, it could take you 1 million naira to do a marriage ceremony, but it could maybe take you about maybe 100 naira as a bride price.
Amazing.
So when you take back the 100 naira from the family, because they are not going to give you back all that you spend in the ceremonies. The only thing that is possible to give you back is the bride price. So the moment you collect back the bride price in good faith, it is the certificate of divorce that you are giving to that woman. That woman now has right now to remarry.
Amazing. What about if your brother dies?
Thank you.
Are you responsible to take his wife?
Thank you. Yes, in the Jewish tradition, we call it leverage marriage. In Igbo land here, we have leverage marriage. When a man is married and he could not produce a male child to represent him here on earth, because we call it in our own tradition, ahamefuna. Ahamefuna. No male born child in Igbo land that will want his name not to remain forever. So if we can't get a male child to represent him, so when the moment he dies, the brother or the nearest kin will take over the woman to produce a child in the name of that his brother, and we call it ikuchiwai in Igbo land.
Do they have significance, David, to the firstborn? Do you do anything for a firstborn in the Hebrew tradition that you're aware of?
Of course, the firstborn is the owner of his father's obi. This obi, an Igbo man whose wife is under menstruation, do not allow him into his obi.
Yes.
Oftentimes they're into polygamy, so that if the wife happens to deliver, the mother-in-law will come. The mother-in-law who comes will be cooking the meal which the man will be eating, and that of the woman who gave birth newly, until he is clean. Now, if the man wants to go into any of his wife, he goes from his obi to the rooms of the wife and return to but the wife who is unclean or who is under menstruation can never come into his obi. And if the man is not, if he's not married to two wives, he can live on roasted yams or plantain for a number of days until the wife is clean and capable of preparing meal for him again.
Amazing. Let me ask you also about the law of Nida.
Yes.
Do the Igbo people do anything special around the law of Nida?
Yeah, the law of Nida, just is almost what he is saying.
That's why
the
I'm
law of
going.
Nida that speaks about the uncleanness of a woman in a menstrual period. In Igbo land, when the woman is unclean or is unclean, either by way of the monthly cycle or by way of delivering, the woman becomes unclean. One, he cannot cook for the husband. Two, she also will not go to the stream to fetch water. She will not also go to farm. She will not go to enter into the man's barn. She will not plant, because in our tradition, it is believed that the woman under this menses, under her menstrual cycle, if it touches the yam or touches whatever that is planted in the field, that thing is defiled. And also to show that the thing is defiled, those crops will start dying. So because of that, there is a very strong fence. Just like the Jews put fence around the Torah. There's a very strong fence that we put around women in menstruation, that they will not do some certain things. There are some certain sacred places they will not enter. Like when we went to Bugad, they did not allow the women to enter into some certain places. When we were about to see that three wonderful trees, the announcement was, if any woman is unclean, he should not enter here.
Wow.
And then when we're entering into the main Obu God itself,
yes,
the announcement is that no woman at all, whether clean or unclean, should enter there.
Wow.
You see now, so there are categories of sacredness as far as it's concerned in the Igbo tradition of places.
I notice a lot of the men around me wear kippot in their head. Was that something that is normally does among the Igbo people, to have a head covering?
Yes, from time immemorial, people put on head covering.
Okay.
I will put on head covering, though we didn't call it the kippah.
Okay.
See, and like the one we gave to you yesterday,
yes,
it's a symbol of.
But even Middle Eastern Jews did not wear regular kippah. Yes. They wear different type of kippah. So, but head covering is head covering.
Yes, we put on head covering.
David, let me ask you about another tradition. One of the big things in Jewish life is around what we call kashrut.
Yes.
The dietary laws. Do the Igbo people have any specific dietary laws?
Yes, to some extent.
To some extent.
Yes, to some extent.
Talk to me about this.
We know that most of us don't eat swine.
Swine?
Yes, it's unclean.
Okay. So they don't touch
Okay,
pork.
okay, let me help him.
Go ahead.
Let me help him.
If you can add here.
Yes. As far as the law of kashrut is concerned, the evil man observed the law of kashrut, but because of our fallen nature, there are some certain communities where some of these law of kashrut is obeyed. Some places they don't eat some certain things. Like when you go to Newi, they don't eat ewi, the rabbit.
Yeah.
Though some other
They
people
don't eat the rabbit.
They don't eat it.
They do or they don't?
Yeah, they don't eat it.
Rabbit is kosher.
They don't eat. Yes, it's on kosher. So, and then when you come to some places also, they don't eat swine.
Okay.
So the thing is scattered all over the place. Some people are still keeping the tradition as it is kept here, was handed over to us. But somehow, because of the fallen nature of the Igbo man, as far as the kashrut is concerned, the people are not keeping it like they are keeping over other laws.
What about mixing meat and dairy, for example? They don't have that level of kashrut.
Yes, in Igbo tradition, we don't mix the two.
You don't mix the meat and dairy.
Meat and
That's
dairy.
a very important law of
We don't mix
kashrut.
it, yes, we don't
You
mix
do
it.
not mix them.
No, we don't mix it.
Wow, absolutely amazing.
Because you see, down here, our people are not nomads like our neighbors. So we have nothing to do with even meat to come together with meat.
You know, the sad thing for me is I'm hearing about those traditions, but really those traditions now with the new generations,
Yes.
they're evaporating quickly.
Of course, to a large extent.
And I like to ask a question. How do we maintain those traditions? And what should be the next steps, in your opinion, David, for the Igbo people?
It's my pleasure. Now, the awareness has started coming. You know, prior to people, we are in doubt, even though we had all these traditions. But somewhere along the line, when the King Solomon Sephardic Foundation, they were here in 1996. And they made a lot of visits, they made a lot of discoveries. And then came this Israeli ambassador to Nigeria.
Okay.
There was this Sun newspaper.
Yeah,
March
let us show it to the.
2004.
Yeah, let us show this article to this.
Okay.
This is the Israeli.
Israeli ambassador to Nigeria,
And,
Noam Case.
and
That
he
is
said,
Israel.
"I am sure the Igbo are the descendant of the Jew."
Yes.
Noam Kat, Israeli envoy.
Yes.
I am aware and sure that they have a unique tradition, culture, and strong bonds that link us to the Igbo people.
Yes.
I studied Hebrew under this Noam Kas.
Okay. So what?
So now, with all these revelations, most of our people now are now becoming conscious, but we need to do more, and that is why I've been running this program.
Okay.
It's a seminar I've been having. You see my name, David.
Let us show it to the camera.
Igbo Jews and the Kingdom of God. So we've been trying to let the world know, and the Igbos too, to know that you don't need to follow the bandwagon, follow the Gentiles and do whatever they are doing, that we are peculiar people with a covenant with our God. And if we are able to keep this covenant, that things will begin to work for us.
And based on what he's saying, Abraham,
Yes.
are we heading in the right direction?
Of course, we are seriously heading on the right direction because this is just the starting point. And by the time we are through with it, all our neighbors will come to realize the fact that not only that we are distant people, but we are blessed people.
How many people, I'm curious, in this room, growing up, not revelation from God, but growing up, knew that there are connection, descendants to the children of Israel? I'm curious. How many? How many really, truly knew that? It's pretty much 99% of it.
The entire Igbo race know that we are Jews.
We are no longer speculating.
So,
Time will be given.
throw at me, this is so fascinating.
All right.
Throw at me a couple of other Jewish traditions. Some things that I would like to chew my teeth on.
All right, thank you so much. You see, I have here over 100 reasons to prove that Hebrews are Israelites from the scriptures, from the Torah. And one of them is circumcision. We have already talked about it, circumcising on the 8th day. And another one that follows is the morning of the day.
Morning.
Morning.
When a person, so let me ask you a question. This is very important.
Yes.
When a person dies,
Yes.
what do you do in the Igbo tradition?
In the Igbo tradition,
In
before
Judaism, you have what's called the Shiva and the 30.
yes,
Do you have
yes,
anything
we
like
do such thing. It is very clear in our tradition. Before the coming of the white man, the moment an Igbo person dies, he is buried between 24 hours to 48 hours. We were
Really?
not,
That's a Jewish law?
Yes.
That's a clear Jewish law.
and even our old men will even give it instruction, even in this present time.
Wow.
That they should not be taken to mortuary.
Tell me,
They
when
should
you
be
bury
buried
a person, I have a question, you might know the answer.
Yeah.
When you bury a Igbo person, do you put him in a casket or do you wrap him in something? Interesting.
Before this present time, we don't put people in caskets.
That's
We
good.
wrap them.
That's why I'm
It is
asking.
the white man that brought caskets and issue here.
That's amazing. You
Yes.
see, because in
we
Judaism,
we
you
bury
don't-
people with what we call opa. It is opa that we use in those days. It's a kind of what we call it, a basket.
Okay.
Where we wrap the person
But
and
it
put
was
there.
not a casket.
No, it was not a casket.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Yes.
Fascinating. Give us a couple of more.
All right.
So do you put 24, 48 hours?
Yes.
That's the tradition. That's Judaism.
All
That's
right.
one of the big Jewish laws. So
All right. So the moment somebody dies, between 48 hours is buried. And you have to give up to 48 hours in case their descendants or it's close relations who are far away, they can be given information to come and see the man the last time and pay him the last respect.
Wow.
Now, so when we bury, the moment we bury, we begin to count. And then the counting, there are the
How
first
much?
there are the first preliminary ceremony that we do that could last for 7 days. The first preliminary.
7 days.
Yes. Then after the 7 days, we have the one we call it Izu Asa, which is the
That's
full
called
1
in
month.
Hebrew Shiva.
Yes, the one we have the full 1 month. Because
And that's a third.
we work with a lunar calendar.
Yeah,
that
that's
is when we consummate it, and the woman now have to mourn the husband for the next exactly 12 months.
That's,
full year.
that's a very clear,
That's exactly that.
very clear Jewish tradition.
All
Very, very clear. Anything else you have for
All
us?
right. Now in Igbo, concerning the dead, we do not bury our own people outside Igbo land, no matter wherever they die.
Wait. Tell me that this is important. Explain this again.
What we are saying is that
Hold on.
Yes, some years back I was in Kaduna. Kaduna is in northern Nigeria.
Okay.
So we lost a little baby and took her to the general
cemetery.
cemetery.
Wait, I want to ask, this is a very important, is the Igbo people have their own cemeteries or they mixed in with other people when they bury?
we don't have a place. Listen to me. In Igbo land, we don't have a place we call cemetery, where people like other people
Field.
do. But what we have is that if anybody dies, he has a compound. Like this person has a very large compound. If it's a man, he must be buried in front of his compound. If it's a woman, at the backyard, depending on the age. So we don't have cemetery, a particular place we call cemetery, where we bury everybody. No. It must be buried.
An Igbo man who dies in Lagos is brought to
back to
Igbo
his
land
own
for
place.
burial.
Oh, wow.
Where if he dies in America, they bring him down here and bury him
You're
here.
kidding me.
We don't bury him in Igbo man
So,
outside
and
Igbo land.
wherever a man is buried, it becomes what do you call it? It's an authentic property of that man and his descendants. That is to say, like the cave of Machpelah, where Abraham
I
had the of
understand.
God. The moment he bought it, it became an authentic property for himself and for his children. That is how we know who owns where he owns. If your father is buried in this place, nobody can come here and say this place belongs to him.
Wow.
So-
Let me ask you about another thing that just so many things going through my mind
Go
right
ahead.
now. When a Jewish boy reached the age of 13, they have something called a bar mitzvah.
Yes.
Obviously, it's a little bit more modern, but it's still very old tradition.
Yes.
Do you have anything like this similar to?
Very much we have it.
Amazing.
In the Igbo tradition, when a child is coming of age, between 12 and 13, like you say, a male child, he enters into Ibamon, we call it Ibamon, and because it's a bastardized way of entering into the Torah, because our ancestors left the worship of the true Elohim and enter into idol worship. So now what they now do is that thing they're supposed to do for the Holy One of Israel, they're now doing it to idol. So the Imam becomes an idol where that child is initiated. He's now of age to be initiated in that. It could be a panico, it could be a it could be any of those things, but he must enter it at that age. So that is
Amazing.
what we call it, a replica of entering into bar mitzvah.
Very, very similar. Okay, guys, I want to ask you a question.
Go
This
ahead.
is a big one. Do the Igbo people have any connection that you could find to the feasts of Israel historically?
Too many of them.
Give me the top 2 or 3, please.
All right. In my own place called Alai, in the local government area of Abia State, we have this tradition in the between September and October that we hold a festival that is all commerce festival for all the indigenes of our community.
Okay.
And this festival is a kind of the final harvest.
Okay.
Now, then we have what we call Ungu. Like I told you that when our ancestors came here, they have already imbibed the apostasy of Jeroboam. They are above the apostasy of Jeroboam, and then they came here. All that they were supposed to do, they were supposed to be doing for the Holy One of Israel. They were doing for idol. So we have this Ungu. Around about this Ungu, there's something that look like the ark, and there's a particular section that look like the Holy of Holies. So when our people come, we run around this Ungu. We go it in circle. We do it. It's a 7-day festival.
It's like Sukkot, right?
Yes,
like
yes.
a
Yes,
Simchat Torah.
yes, yes. So we go around this Ungu every day once, on the until 7 days. So it is believed by our people that anybody who participates in this festival and go around this Ungu that contain an artifact that is a replica of the ark,
Amazing.
then that the person provides a security, secures for himself security for the whole of the year. So even during the war, when our people were going to fight the war, you will go, they will come there and go around that Lungu several times and make promise that if they go and come back, they will come and bring some sacrifice to that place, and they work so much for the people.
Amazing.
So this is exactly one of them. Then
I read also that you have something like some sort of a festival in September,
Yes.
almost like Rosh Hashanah.
The
Yes.
New Yam
Yeah,
Festival.
tell me what do you know about
The
it.
New Yam Festival we celebrate represent the Feast of Tabernacle. That is when we bring in our first fruit.
Interesting.
And yes, so now it is celebrated though community by community. The yams are roasted and a very big table is set, and they prepare this oil bean with pepper and other things.
Amazing.
And the yam is breaking at the village square, and people eat. After eating that one, you can now go home and begin to harvest your yam and eat. You don't harvest your yam and eat in your house without first of all observing the New Yam Festival.
That's the
And
first
almost all the communities
festival
in
of
Igbo land observe this
not
festival.
almost all the communities in Igbo land do it.
Amazing, amazing.
almost.
What about the Passover? Anything at all or about the Passover, or has it been?
Yes, in my own place, we also have the Passover, a replica of the Passover. And how do we do it? During this period between March and April, there is this, what do I call it? We organize what we call, in some places they call it a hajok, in some places we call it agwo, Igbo agwo. In that very place, when you do that, you kill the fowl or the goat or whichever one, and put the blood on the lintels and the doorposts.
You put the blood on the.
Yes.
Wow.
We do that. We do that.
Wow.
It's our tradition.
Wow.
But all these things are done for the idol now because our people who went into apostate, but it's no longer done to the Holy One of Israel. But we still carry the same pattern.
Wow.
Yes, even
Shocking.
Okay, so now the Olao the Ekwano I mentioned in the course of my introduction of this program. Now he was the first Igbo man who attended school in Britain. So in school he came in contact with some British Jews and observed the festival that the Jews were celebrating. Then he now recalled that while he was here in here, you see.
You didn't hear like just
Here.
Okay.
That there were festival that we are celebrated by our ancestors. Where meat we are killed and roasted and eaten with bitter herbs. He even wrote
Bitter herbs.
Yes. He even
That's
wrote
the
his
Agada.
book. No, he wrote his book. These things are verifiable because he wrote a book, The Interesting Narratives of the Life of Olaude Ekwuano. He even made it categorically clear in that book that they should conduct more research to find out who among the Jews and the Igbos who came from the order.
Amazing.
And that was why the King of England was trying to stop the Dr.
Yeah.
Dr. G.T. Basden from publishing his book because he told him that 100 years before they came to colonize Nigeria, that they knew that the Igbos were part of the lost tribe of Israel. So they knew. That is why they've been dealing with us. They don't want us to rise.
So if you wouldn't mind, let me pinpoint some of the traditions that our ancestors had that will fascinate you as far as it concerns.
Please, this is so interesting. Is it interesting to you? It's amazing. It's your ancestry. I think it should be interesting to every Jew in the world.
Of all our neighbors, we are the only people who observe these what I'm about to reveal now.
So that's the shocking thing to me. Nobody else, other tribes in Nigeria do not.
Yes.
No, they know. We are peculiar people.
So now in here, in Igbo land, we are very careful about incest.
Oh.
And what we call unholy marriage.
Yes.
It is forbidden in this is a taboo, an abomination, and anybody who commits it is liable either to be stoned or killed or ostracized completely from our community. A man is not permitted to marry his next of kin, his own sister from the same mother or from the same father. A man is not permitted to sleep with his mother, no matter the circumstance, even under gunpoint. You cannot sleep with your father. A woman cannot sleep with a father-in-law. It's a taboo. Sleeping with an animal is no go area at all. But you see, these things are all that we are practicing here before the coming of the white man, and they're coming here. What do you call it? Have expose our people to unimaginable
for
kind
history.
of practices.
When the white men arrived here, what year, roughly?
The white man arrived here around 17 AD.
Do you think that the white man in your look? I want to be honest with you.
Yes.
Is most of the Igbo people today practice Christianity? Or what do they practice, most of the Igbo people?
Majority of the Igbo people today practice Christianity because Christianity was forced on us.
Forced?
It was a forceful, it was imposed on our people.
So would you say that the white man, not to be controversial,
yes,
but do you think that the white man is I don't want to blame all of it on the white man.
Yes, you cannot.
You cannot.
Yes.
But it really did not help.
Yes, it did not help at all because you see, if we were all the way we were before the coming of the white man, if the first people we met were the Jews like yourself, our problem would have been different. We would have been able to solve our problem before now. All that they would have needed to do is to remove the idolatry that is found in our midst. Every other thing would have been in place.
So before you kind of lost your tradition, because all the tradition I hear, it's like, I said, this is Jewish,
Yes.
with a twist.
Yes.
Not exactly, but maybe 90%.
Yes.
You know, but now you're assimilated with Christianity to make things worse.
Yes.
And that's really impacted the
But
community.
negatively.
So I want to ask you a question. I mean, not to be controversial, because I see you have pages and pages of those traditions. And I hope you will make more videos for us, systematically walking us through those things. But I think it's overwhelming. We cannot say that the Igbo people do not have a connection to Israel.
Not at all.
We cannot say it. Can we say that they're exactly the tribe of God? Maybe. There is a strong connection to the tribe of God here.
Yes.
We know that. I was with you, and you showed me the statue of the man with the knife and the sword.
Yes.
And the word God exactly mean that. The people of the knife and the sword.
Yes.
The word God also comes from the word gdud, which means the fighting crew.
Yes.
And that's really what the tribe of God and the Igbo are known for. They're fighters.
Yes.
Okay? So this is historically validating those things.
It is very evident in the 2.5 year war that we fought. The war that we fought here was not only with the federal troops, we even fought almost with the whole world, because the British people were involved in the war. Yeah, what do you call it? Even the Russians, Americans were there. But we were able to withstand them for 30 good months. could imagine that.
So here's my question to you.
Go ahead.
Recently, they did a DNA testing in this country on some of the Igbo people.
All right.
The results came disappointing. Is that result make any impact on you, on your outlook and your connection with Israel? For you personally?
Now, President, I was part of the people who took part in that test.
Okay.
I didn't even have all the details. But for all we know that every Igbo man here knows that we are part of the lost 10 tribe of Israel. DNA test or no DNA test, we know that we are part of the lost 10 tribe of Israel. And besides, those of you out there in Israel, I know that as far back as 1919, there was nothing like Israel. You were scattered all over the world. I know how the scientist of Manchester University, Dr.
Right.
Let me recall his name now, who invented an atom during the First World War.
Right.
Then,
Einstein,
yes, and
Einstein.
Theodor Herzl, a journalist who now started moving for the Zionist organization. So you were all over the world. Nobody was there. The place was a desolate place. But we are here, and we know that we are Igbos. So now, and again, there are two things that qualify you as a Jew. You are either a Jew by birth or by faith. Because it is a historical fact that all the people who left to Egypt with Israel when they were leaving Egypt, all of them were not Jews. And there is no record that somewhere along the line that they were ostracized. No, they remain Jews. So the Igbo man is a Jew. By practice, by belief, everything we do here has this connection with Israel.
I tell you, I have difficulty with this statement because you lost the Torah. You lost the Torah. I have some difficulty with this.
Okay.
I can say you are part of the tribes of Israel, but to be a Jew, and this is what the government of Israel fighting with.
All right.
What to do, and not just about you, what to do about the Ethiopians, what to do about the Lemba people. What do you do about them? Some rabbis trying to push. There was an interesting thing that happened here in Nigeria. Rabbis came and they did an Orthodox conversion of the Igbo people. And when they went to Israel, they didn't recognize this conversion.
Yes.
So the question whether or not the Igbo people have to go through a conversion process is, to me, it's something you're not going to win. Okay. The state of Israel will say yes. You still have to go through a conversion. Me personally, I don't believe that. I think you are part of the household of Israel, but you still have to go through a process, whether or not you call it conversion or what you conversion, to learn the tradition. You know what the difference between you guys and let's say every other Jew who's been scattered in the world? They kept the Torah. You guys kind of, because the tribe of God, because what happened, some of this was lost. So I think our mission here is to resurrect those traditions, explain those traditions, and now take those traditions and put them in front of the house of Israel as Jews again. You guys are not far. There's definitely you're not far, okay? So
okay, will you give me some permission to maybe cite some other traditions that we have that authenticate the fact that we are from the descendants of Israel?
I think we already established that, though. That has been established.
Yes.
That has been already established.
The halakha that has to do with pe'ah. The pe'ah,
of the cutting of the fields.
Corner of the field, yes. Now, in my own place, because when which time I talk, I will talk about my own place. I come from Alai in the local government area of Abia State.
Okay.
And by extension, I believe I know that it's also practiced in every part of Igbo land. When you do your final harvesting in Igbo land, you do not completely harvest everything. We leave some for the poor.
The corners.
The corners. And it is a ceremony in my place that at a particular point, these foreigners, strangers that come in our midst, the poor, the widow, the orphans, they have access to your farm and they joyously go there to harvest those ones that you left behind.
Amazing.
It's our tradition.
That's amazing.
All right. Now, as it concerns also servant master relationship, it is written in the Torah that if a man acquires a slave, though in this case not a slave, is a servant in our own case. If you acquire the slave,
Servant.
that slave is going to serve
Free him on the
for
seventh.
6 years, and on the 7th year be free.
have to free
That's
him.
exactly what we do here, and we're still doing it today. 6 years service, the 7th year free.
You know, in a way, you're doing things in the ancient customs of our people.
Because
But-
we're Asian people.
Yeah.
We're Asian people.
Yes, yes.
That's a fact to show you that we're more ancient than even the the 1948 establishment of the state of Israel.
Yeah, I
Yes.
understand that. That's
Yes.
And besides, an Igbo man who kills somebody by accident.
Yes.
kiss. Yes.
Yes.
If a man in here like killed
Place
by
of refuge,
accident, he runs from this
Understand.
particular community to another town. And we never come back to this town until after 7 years because we have no standing high priest.
Yes.
Onye na-akpọ ya Igbo ọsọ ọchụ.
Igbo ọsọ ọchụ.
Onye Igbo gburu ọchụ na-agba ọsọ
Yes.
ọchụ. Just like he said, the city of refuge
Yes.
in Israel.
Imagine.
Yes.
Yeah, I understood.
So we do that.
I have told you that a
Amazing.
Igbo man who hanged himself, who died by hanging,
Yeah, by
is
hanging.
never buried. Like in my own area where I came from, in Ngwaland, also in Abia State.
Yes.
We don't bury them. We go to invite people from Avo. They go to the bush where he hanged himself, dug a pit under that bush, under that tree,
And bury him there.
somebody will climb and cut the rope. He will fall into the pit,
and he's
they
buried.
will close the pit and return
You know
back
what?
home.
You know what you are?
Who are
You're an ancient Israelite.
we? Ancient Israel. That's who we are. That's who we are. So if you give me time, if you give me time,
But-
all that he said.
I know. We don't have.
There are so many years.
I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of
Yes.
notes. And I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites or you want to be Jews? That is the question I have for you.
Thank you. I'll answer that question.
Go,
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I will help you.
After the demise of Solomon, we now have the northern and southern kingdom of Israel.
Yes.
So when we talk about Jews, Jews are Israelites, but all Israelites are not Jews. The 10 tribes that got lost are not Jews. They were Israelites.
Well, it's depending.
So minority cannot swallow the majority. We are here. We are the majority down here. So you are minority, and we are older than you.
All right, Rabbi. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Religion, my brother. Did I have another point I want to come to?
I'm not Jew. We will agree with this. Because the minority, remember, the minority was Joshua and Caleb. And they swallowed the 10 in the faithfulness. Hallelujah.
Yes. Yes, it's coming from another planet. But let me tell you.
Hallelujah.
Let me tell you. What do you call it? My Rabbi. Listen. You see, just like he had said, the scattering of the 10 tribes, the Holy One of Israel
Hold on.
promised that he is going to return them when they are the fullness of time. We are, grateful to the Most High for Judah, who has kept,
The flag flying.
the flag flying for us. And they are the reason why we are being found today. I hope you understand what we're saying.
I understand very
So
clear.
I want our fellow Jews all over the world, both in land and in Israel and in diaspora, to know, to accept the fact that we are of the same stock with them. No matter how ancient we are ready to join with our kings and kids in Israel to become one with them. So, we may come with some ancient traditions, and these ancient traditions will attest the fact that we are the original people, that we have not lost so much, just like the Falasians. When
Yeah.
the Falasians came back to the land,
Yeah.
history have it that even the state of Israel will not allow them
That's true.
free access, but until they show some artifacts that have to show that they have some of the utensils that were used in the temple, when they came down as Levites to Ethiopia. And that became a kind of a proof, undisputable proof, that made the nation of Israel to accept them, even though they did not accept them into the mainstream of Israel. They put them in Elat. I don't know what I don't understand what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So, but I want us to have a way forward. The way forward is let Israel accept their people with open hands.
So let me ask you a hypothetical question.
Yes, go ahead.
Israel accept you now.
Yes,
I'll give two scenarios.
go ahead.
Scenario number one.
Yes.
Israel say you need to go through conversion without renouncing Yeshua. Would you do it?
Without renouncing Yeshua.
Yeah. Would you do it?
Okay, let me just answer this question. Let me just answer it, my Rabbi.
I have to ask the hard questions.
I will answer the question. I will answer the question not with yes or no.
Look, they're ready with the stones. I'm about to get
No,
stoned.
nobody's going to stone you.
Do you have the culture of stoning?
No.
Hallelujah. All right. Continue.
So what I'm saying here is, let's go back to Yeshua and his story about the prodigal son. It is very, very clear that the prodigal son depicts the 10th tribe.
It could be, in one level it is.
Yes. And also, the other son that is with the father is Judah. And now, when, what do you call it? The prodigal son was coming back. The father was very
Because the prodigal son is wicked.
Yes.
And the 10 tribes were wicked.
All right. Thank you. So, but when the prodigal son was coming back, his brother
When
was
I say, I'm not saying you're wicked, I say the ancestry
yes,
were
yes.
wicked.
When the 10 tribes when the prodigal son was coming back, his brother was not comfortable. But his father liked it because he's been looking for his lost son. You see, he did not ask him to go through the rigor.
So are you saying the brother is in trouble because he didn't like it?
Yes. So the father did not allow him to go into the rigors of conversion, rigors of doing another thing. All that he needed
He
to do.
didn't simply accept him. He made it very difficult for him to return.
Yes. But all he needs to do is to remove his clothes, wash them. So I think what we need is to refurbish us and not to ask us to go through the rigors of conversion where you use hard object to puncture the penis of an old man. That will be very, very difficult for some of us to go through.
Wow.
Because we are already circumcised.
Yeah,
Why
we
do you
are
need to
already
circumcise us again?
Very circumcised, and if they need to to find out, they could ask us, because in our place they say the only way to know that somebody has hernia is to open the pants. You get it? So now, if they want to know whether we are circumcised, we can open our pants for them, and they can see it. Then we don't need for them to come and give us some painful thing that will make some people try to run away from becoming part of Israel.
Okay, so you would, basically what you are answering
Yes.
is you would not want to go through a conversion process.
It will be very difficult.
It will be very difficult for people to do that.
Yes,
Okay.
we are
Okay,
so
so-
numerous. We are so if Israel cannot even accommodate all of us, you should come down here and help us.
We put you all in the desert. We have an wide open desert.
We have a lot of numerical strength here.
You can be in the Negev, all of
Yes,
you.
we agree.
Hallelujah.
We are only telling you we have a very large.
Believe me, the Negev is cooler than this.
We will be sending representatives during the sacred festivals. While we be celebrating here, some of our representatives will come to the High Tabernacle, which is in Jerusalem, to offer our burnt offering. We will be here celebrating the Passover, the unleavened bread, the Feast of Tabernacle. All you need to do is to go there, ask them to send us. The people with money are not with the Sabbatarians. Let us convert the Igbo race. Then the things will start happening. If we are recruiting soldiers, our people will come and be recruited and be part of the Israeli army. And they hear that the enemy is trying to swallow us. We call you to come over to here and help us. That is what we are calling for.
Okay, so my question now, hypothetical question number 2.
Yes.
If the state of Israel opened the doors,
Yes.
how many of you would be willing to leave Nigeria?
If you open the door, if Israel open the door today, before 6 hours, there will be no space in Israel.
Really?
I tell you, if Israel open the door for the lost tribe that is found here in Nigeria alone, I'm not talking of Africa. In the next 6 hours, I tell you, no space will be found in the land of Israel.
What about Farah Farah? Will he come?
Father, he will never.
Okay. I will give. Let me, friends. I hope you see that today we had a very unique opportunity, not just hear the story, but to hear the heart of God and the heart of the people. Here is my synopsis of this. When the 10 tribes have been exiled, some of them defected to the kingdom of Judah, it said so. Jeremiah went and brought some of them from the north kingdom to the south kingdom. The Bible said so. But many people have been scattered among the nations. It is true. If the Bible is true, and if the prophets of Israel is true, and if Isaiah chapter 11, verse 11, chapter 11 is true, God will have to bring all the scattered among our people back to Israel. The question is, will it happen by the work of man? No. Or will it happen by the Messiah himself? We need to pray for our administration in Israel. But at the same time, when I look to people here and I see those ancient traditions, I say they are our blood, our brothers, but they become an estranged brother, like this prodigal son.
Yes.
So what do we need to do? We need to go to the prodigal son today. We, the natural branch, the Jewish people, the non-Jewish people, need to go to the prodigal son and we need to welcome him in. We need to rewrite history. Because I think that has been the tragedy of the 12 tribes of Israel. When some brothers were lost and we thought they are dead, but they're really indeed alive. Yes. That's what I'm doing in Nigeria. That's what Operation Africa, Operation Igbo People is about. Going and simply issue to them invitation to return home. Home starts in the spirit. It starts in the things that were lost. It started with the bringing them back to the Torah, just as all of Israel today is experienced. What we need to do today is to pray. Also to write to the state of Israel letters. Write letters to the state of Israel and tell them to open the door for these precious people. The Igbo people have a right to return to their brothers. Amen. And somehow through it to return back to Adonai, to Hashem, to their Father. Please support this. You can support it financially. You can support it in prayer. And I promise you that if you come here to Nigeria as a Jewish believer, you will be respected and honored as a king. So I invite all of my Jewish brethren, all of my Jewish rabbis, colleagues, come here. Teach the people. Amen. Invest in the work here.